All first our committee members onto the stage, please, all the Women's Forum, and Dr. Anupama Gotumukula, Seema Arora, Uma Jonalagada, and our eminent Dr. Shanta Kumari. Give them a big hand. They have been waiting here patiently. Our AAPI Women's Chair, Dr. Seema Arora. Dr. Seema Arora is Women's Chair for Physicians Committee for 21-22. She's also a past BOT Chair for the AAPI, and she's an internal medicine physician and specializing in aesthetic medicine that you could see. She's always well dressed. And she works at the Harvard, Massachusetts Brigham Hospital. And she is the past president of Lady Harding Medical Alumni and also IMA of New England. And this time I welcome Dr. Seema Arora.
Thank you, Meher, for that nice introduction. So, hello and welcome everyone to the Women's Forum session of AAPI Global Health Summit. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about what our Women's Committee has been doing in this year, because it's been very active and we've done a lot for women's issues. And recently we had, on Zoom, we had a session globally attended by panelists, which is on domestic violence prevention. And now we are here to serve our motherland and to give back and through this Global Health Summit. And specifically, our Women's Committee has been involved in the project of prevention and eradication of cervical cancer by HPV vaccination, which is in accordance with the theme of our summit, prevention is better than cure. Secondly, we are trying to spread awareness and also inspire women by this forum. And the theme of our forum today is Women Who Inspire. And today, under this one roof, we have these very many inspirational women, very accomplished in their fields, from various walks of life, from across the continent, who can be role models to all the other women around the world. But before we open the forum to the discussion, I would like to introduce briefly my committee here, who's been working very, very hard for past many months to organize this event. And these are themselves very accomplished AAPI physicians who are multifaceted, multi-talented women who themselves can be inspiration and role models to many. So first and foremost, of course, our President, Dr. Anupama Gotumukula. I would like to give a big hand to her. So Dr. Gotumukula is a pediatric anesthesiologist at Children's Hospital of San Antonio, Texas, and also past president of Texas Indo-American Physician Society and alternate delegate in IMG. Welcome, Dr. Gotumukula. And she is such an inspirational woman, as you can see, organizing this big global health summit in this time of the pandemic was not an easy task. So thank you, Dr. Gotumukula.
So much for coming, our invited dignitaries, and every one of us have been looking forward to hear from you all. This is the Women's Year now, so we have a lot of women leadership in AAPI, and I welcome you all. Let us share our thoughts and hope we will inspire the rest of the women and men in this room. Thank you.
Next is our advisor, another very inspirational, strong woman, Dr. Udaya Shivangi. And she's also the chair of this Global Health Summit this year. Dr. Udaya Shivangi, where are you? Okay. So she is a practicing physician specialized in sleep medicine in Mississippi and is also the president of Mississippi chapter of AAPI. Dr. Meher Medavaram, you just met her. She is the chair of GHS Forum this year and also member of AAPI Physicians Committee. She's a practicing physician in Illinois and clinical preceptor of family medicine in University of Illinois, Chicago. She is also the regional director of AAPI Northeast region. Big hand, and she wants to say a few words.
Thank you, Seema. Just want to say one thing about our committee, that we came up with this prevention for cervical cancer, that is also the theme of FOXY for this year here and also for India, because cervical cancer is number 2 killer. So when this morning when we started, we wanted to raise and give about at least 100 vaccines to save like 100 lives, cervical cancer, and it was amazing response that people of my committee and also all the AAPI committee, they opened up their hearts and their wallets, and we raised 6.5 lakhs so far, just now within 3 hours, okay? So I really have to give a big hand for everybody for coming up with that kind of number. So that's just wanted to share that with you. Thank you. We are soft but tenacious, so watch out.
All right, moving on, our next member of AAPI Women's Physician Committee is Dr. Malti Mehta. She is a board-certified psychiatrist practicing in North Carolina, and she's also the regional director of AAPI South Region and vice president of BGMC College Alumni. Dr. Malti Mehta. Next is Dr. Uma Jonala Gadda, member of GHS Forum. She is a family medicine physician practicing in Georgia, the president-elect of GAPI chapter of AAPI, and was co-chair of AAPI Obesity Committee, which did really well last year, spreading obesity awareness. All right, so next I will be introducing our esteemed guests today. And I'm going to start with Ms. Preeti Uppala. She is an investment banker turned into a thought leader, a media entrepreneur, and Miss India International. A geopolitical expert, award-winning international columnist, and director of the Omnia Institute, she is also a public speaker, actor, radio, and TV commentator based in Hollywood, host of a popular show called The Preeti Experience. I could go on, but in the essence of time, I'm going to just say a few lines, and she's going to be speaking and telling more about herself a little later. So welcome, Preeti. Next is Dr. Tejaswini Manogna, who you all met her yesterday. So we're fortunate she's joining our Women's Forum today again. A young medical doctor, graduate of Osmania Medical College, Hyderabad. She's the title holder of the beauty pageant Divine Miss Earth India 2019. She's also a model and a professional Bharatanatyam dancer. Dr. Shanta Kumari, a senior gynecologist and laparoscopic surgeon in Hyderabad. She is the president of Federation of Obstetric and Gynecological Societies of India and treasurer of International Federation of OB/GYN. She is committed to have a cancer-mukt Bharat by 2030 and to elevate women's health globally and to stop violence against women. So that goes pretty much with the theme of our prevention theme of our summit, which is, Cancer Mukt Bharat, and she's going to talk a little more about it later. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Juby Jacob Nara. And she is also a physician with masters in public health and business administration from Cornell University in America. She is the chief medical officer and vice president of global clinical development and medical affairs at Sanofi Genzyme, Washington. And she is involved in the development of specialty pharmaceuticals, vaccines, biologics, and other consumer products. again, a very accomplished woman, and she is also very much involved in prevention. Next and the last speaker I'm going to introduce is Dr. Meenakshi Martins. She's a practicing consultant psychiatrist in Goa with interest in research in fields of substance abuse, women, and child welfare. She has been honored by the Psychiatric Society of Goa for services rendered in the field of mental health. She's also an award-winning theater artist, film, television, and Netflix actress. Dr. Martins. So as you can see, these are very accomplished ladies wearing so many different hats, and I am in an awe how they do this all, but like Dr. Kishan Kumar say, women power. We can do it all. So at this point, I will leave the podium and I will invite the speakers one by one to say a few lines and tell them about themselves and about their life stories and their journey and how they accomplished all this, so it can inspire audience and other women here and everybody. We will begin in the same order with Ms. Preeti Uppala.
Just this a bit. Namaste, everyone. Can you all hear me? What a beautiful day it is. Blessed to be here. Namaste again. Want to thank Dr. Seema Arora for introducing all of us and doing such a wonderful job, and Dr. Anupama as well for being the president of AAPI and making all of this amazing global summit a reality. So thank you so much. I want to start with a quote that I think is apt for our session today. A woman is like a tea bag. You only know how strong she is when she is in hot water. Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, former First Lady of the United States of America. So this is where we are at. I mean, women have this incredible inherent power that really comes out when she's tested the most and when she's backed into a corner. And I think post-COVID, 2022, I think this is as hot as it gets for the planet. And I think it just globally, women coming together, this is the future of the world, whether you like it or not. We have to unite and, be there for each other. So I, just wanted to share a little bit about myself, and if I can give you a few tidbits of what has inspired me in my life, perhaps all the young women and men in here can take some nuggets of wisdom away and use it in their own life, and I know that I've done my job. I am a former investment banker, now based in Hollywood, California, and I work in the media, in the entertainment industry. I'm a public speaker. I'm writing my first book. I write for various publications, and I'm a Dharma ambassador. And finally, I'm also a geopolitical expert. I work with think tanks, but more commonly, I'm invited by major news and radio channels all around the world to speak on very important topics such as foreign policy and so on. And I was thinking about this topic, and I thought maybe the best way for me to share my journey is I just want to point out 3 things that have helped me in my own life. And when I think about power, when I think about empowerment, what does that mean for me? The first one is culture. Bharat is an incredible civilizational state. We are so blessed to be born in this wonderful sacred land. We've got over 5,000 years of civilizational history and so much wisdom that is as relevant today as it ever was. And I think for me, my power comes from my upbringing, from my parents, from the culture I was born into. And the most beautiful thing I think about Indian culture is we don't have to have this conflict between the man-woman dynamic. Power is shared. You know, the Shiva Shakti dynamic is something that is inherent in our culture. We've kept it, we've honored it for so many thousands of years. And I think it's actually a framework for the West. That's one thing they could learn from us. Because I live in LA, and you know, out there, there's this fight, dog fight between I'm the boss, you're not. If I have to have it, then you can't have it. And I have to take something from you in order to prop myself up. And this is not what power is. Real power is how you affect the world at large. Are you in harmony with yourself, and are you in harmony with the other spirit, other soul, you know, other souls that live? So what I see, though, is India and Indians aping the West for external validation and so on. And I just hope, my prayer is that in this pursuit of trying to be more modern or trying to be more like the Great West, that we don't lose what makes us special, which is our culture and our incredible wisdom, at a time when actually the West is looking to India to lead the way, because their own system has so many flaws in it. So, you know, that's number one. Number two is, it's your dharma. I think it's your purpose, it's your path to empower yourself and others. And you do it because you can, you do it because you care. So that has been, you know, people ask me, you've done so much, why do you keep fighting? Why do you keep wanting to do more? And I say, because I'm just getting started. I'm just scratching the surface. There is so much more for me to share and serve. And I do it because I can, because I know that I'm not going to sleep until I do as much of that as possible. And the third one is fulfillment. You know, the fulfillment is in itself. There's no pot of gold at the end, you know, especially when you look at the concept of Maya in our culture and, you know, just life itself. It's this incredible cycle. So the fulfillment is in the journey of it. It's not in the destination. So you do it because it brings you joy, it brings you bliss, it brings you ananda. I think true power is when you are being yourself, your authentic self, sharing your gifts with the world in the most harmonious way as possible, and bringing a smile on everybody's face and knowing that you've left the world in a slightly better place than when you found it. That's true empowerment for me. I hope this is a great year for all of you. I hope you can find your power and share it with the world, because the world is waiting for you to be that great. We can all be great. You don't have to change the world. Just change your own mindset. And even if you affect one person, it is so worth it. So with that, I thank you so much. I hope to connect with each and every one of you. Please do come up and reach out to me. And I hope you have a blessed year. And I want to see the world a happier, safer, healthier place than it has been. Stay together, stay strong. Love you, Bharat. Thank you so much for having me. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you and so on. And you know, I was thinking about this topic, and I thought maybe the best way for me to share my journey is I just want to point out 3 things that have helped me in my own life. And when I think about power, when I think about empowerment, what does that mean for me? The first one is culture. You know, Bharat is an incredible civilizational state. You know, we are so blessed to be born in this wonderful sacred land. We've got over 5,000 years of civilizational history and so much wisdom that is as relevant today as it ever was. And I think for me, my power comes from my upbringing, from my parents, from the culture I was born into. And the most beautiful thing I think about Indian culture is we don't have to have this conflict between the man-woman dynamic. Power is shared. You know, the Shiva Shakti dynamic is something that is inherent in our culture. We've kept it, we've honored it for so many thousands of years. And I think it's actually a framework for the West. That's one thing they could learn from us, because I live in LA, and out there, there's this dog fight between I'm the boss, you're not. If I have to have it, then you can't have it. And I have to take something from you in order to prop myself up. And this is not what power is. Real power is how you affect the world at large. Are you in harmony with yourself? And are you in harmony with the other spirit, other soul, other souls that live? So what I see, though, is India and Indians aping the West for external validation and so on. And I just hope, my prayer is that in this pursuit of trying to be more modern or trying to be more like the Great West, that we don't lose what makes us special, which is our culture and our incredible wisdom, at a time when actually the West is looking to India to lead the way, because their own system has so many flaws in it. So, that's number one. Number two is, it's your dharma. I think it's your purpose, it's your path to empower yourself and others. And you do it because you can, you do it because you care. So that has been, people ask me, you've done so much, why do you keep fighting? Why do you keep wanting to do more? And I say, because I'm just getting started. I'm just scratching the surface. There is so much more for me to share and serve. And I do it because I can, because I know that I'm not going to sleep until I do as much of that as possible. And the third one is fulfillment. The fulfillment is in itself. There's no pot of gold at the end, especially when you look at the concept of Maya in our culture and, just life itself. It's this incredible cycle. So the fulfillment is in the journey of it. It's not in the destination. So you do it because it brings you joy. It brings you bliss. It brings you ananda. I think true power is when you are being yourself, your authentic self, sharing your gifts with the world in the most harmonious way as possible, and bringing a smile on everybody's face and knowing that you've left the world in a slightly better place than when you found it. That's true empowerment for me. I hope this is a great year for all of you. I hope you can find your power and share it with the world, because the world is waiting for you to be that great. We can all be great. You don't have to change the world. Just change your own mindset. And even if you affect one person, it is so worth it. So with that, I thank you so much. I hope to connect with each and every one of you. Please do come up and reach out to me. And I hope you have a blessed year. And I want to see the world a happier, safer, healthier place than it has been. Stay together, stay strong. Love you, Bharat. Thank you so much for having me. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, Preeti, for those empowering words. Definitely, we need to empower ourselves, and then we empower others. So thank you for that message. And with that, I would like to call upon the next speaker, which is Tejaswini Manogna.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all today? I know you all just had your lunch. I hope you all are not sleepy. My respects to the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. I am delighted to be here today amongst those women who bravely voiced their choices, who became the voice of many other women and created an identity for themselves, while gracefully balancing both their profession and their family. Hats off to all of y'all. A huge round of applause for all the women present here on the stage and off the stage. Nature, as such, has given a bigger responsibility to women to bear a child. And in the making of a child, a mother plays an incredible role. My mother, who's here with the camera standing there, okay, she had a huge influence on my life. She is a really simple woman with a strong ideologies in her life, and she believed in simple living and high thinking. And she taught me the same values. And she made sure that I wake up early in the morning at 6 a.m. from the time when I was born. So, you know, she never let me sleep beyond 6 a.m. And I think it's the same kind of discipline I still carry forward. I still wake up at 5 a.m. and do all my activities. So she made sure that I grow up as, you know, as a disciplined child. And while working, she was working as a software engineer, and while working, she made sure she dedicated her weekends to me, and with that little salary, whatever she had, she made sure I went to the best dance class, went the best, you know, wear the best outfits. So she's done her best, and, you know, despite a lot of, you know, negativity which comes around from the society, which might say that, is all this necessary for a girl child to be doing all of this? Despite of all that, she gave me a path, and I think it is from her that I learned the attitude, you know, the never give up kind of attitude. And growing up in a simple family, it taught me the art of survival, the art of being humble, and the art of being grounded despite any kind of achievements that I might make in my life. And my parents might not have given me a lot, you know, a lot of comforts in terms of materialistic terms, but they have given me an incredible upbringing, and I'm sure I'm going to carry forward the same to my next generation. I think it's okay to give the kid also a little of credits to listening to a parent like that. So I had a vision. I had a vision to be the voice of the women, to be the ambassador of the youth, and you know, the will to do something for my nation, and you know, that dream to do something big in my life, and the desire to lead a better life. I think it is these qualities which helped me step out of my comfort zone and chase my passion. I became the All India's Best Cadet of NCC, honored by the Prime Minister and President of India, and got the SAARC countries medal in Sri Lanka, and represented India probably in 6 to 7 countries. I am the Miss India Earth, and represented India and Philippines, and got my international medals. I've been a Bharatanatyam dancer for the past 20 years and given over 2,000 performances, and a yoga practitioner, a trainer, an eco-activist, and a philanthropist. Let me tell you, I mean, doing all this is definitely not easy coming from the background that I belong to. Okay, it took me innumerable challenges and innumerable failures and hardships to be doing all of that. But if I can do it, can we not do it? I mean, you all can do it, all the youngsters present here. I am no angel coming from the heaven. I belong to the same kind of family, same kind of middle-class environment that I'm brought up in. But if I can do it, you all can do it, right? A woman will be defined by her courage, by the courage that she portrays, and not by her appearance, not the outfit she wears, not the lipstick she wears, not the high heels she wears, but it is her courage that defines a woman. And having that self-confidence is the most important key for a woman in this kind of a society. A woman, I mean, talking about empowerment. What is empowerment? Empowerment for me is this, you know, just creating that self-worth, giving them the right platform, and giving them the right to make choices in life. We don't need women's rights, we just need the human rights, that's it, just as much as men need. Even, I mean, in the current, at least it is better now, but it is still, even basic education is a luxury to millions of girl childs, you know, in the rural areas. With limited educational access and early school dropouts, and physical and sexual abuse, domestic violence, rape, and, you know, gender bias and unequal pay, I think a lot of us face a lot of such problems in our day-to-day life. Maybe not the same, but I think every woman here must have faced some kind of discrimination in their life. The only thing I want to say to all the women is that, dear women, speak up. Do not suffer in silence. Voice your opinions. Be bold to use your voice. Be brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to lead a life that you have imagined. And on a lighter note, you know, educating a woman means educating a society, it is said. Is that right? It is right, right? So a very simple example to prove this is that, for example, if you look at your mother in your house, you know, she might not be working right now, but she might have got some kind of education, or even if not educated, she talks to the milkman, she talks to the garbage picker, she talks to, you know, the paper guy, and she talks to everybody outside and asks, how are you doing? And she takes care of the well-being of those people, and she asks, is your kid going to school right now? So she is trying to educate everybody that that she encounters in her day-to-day life. And also, women at home, how many departments do we manage? Many. So, you know, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of Child and Women Welfare. So, I mean, if a woman can manage so many things at home and she's already experienced to do so, don't you think she can lead the nation? Of course, right? She will be the lead in any department that she is given. We have so many examples right now with the finance minister being a woman, and we have so many examples. So women in the past have set so many examples for us, and women in the future will be setting a lot of examples to us. And I would say we would be the women who would be setting an example to the coming generation. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, AAPI. Thank you, Anupama ma'am, for choosing me here and making sure I'm here. Thank you, AAPI, and thank you everyone in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejaswini, for that nice speech. And we're so fortunate to have a youth leader like you. I'm sure it's very empowering and very encouraging for the young women here. And I'm so glad you talked about your mom. Of course, strong mothers raise strong daughters. And my daughter being here in the audience today, I hope someday she says that to me. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Shanta Kumari. Please.
Dr. Anupama, Dr. Seema, Dr. Udaya, and Dr. Dwaraknath Reddy, and the whole of AAPI. Indeed, a pleasure to be here. I bring greetings from FOXY, the 38,000 strong body of gynecologists of India. I happen to be the 60th president of FOXY, the first Telugu girl to be a FOXY president. Thank you. And I also bring greetings from FIGO, the global voice of women. We have about 137 countries. If you go with headquarters at London, we are the global voice of women. This year, when I took over as the president FOXY, I came with my team, FOXY for All, Always, and Dhira, Stop Violence Against Women. In fact, in 2016, when I was the member of FIGO's working group on No to Violence Against Women, that was a time when FIGO started this international group, but they didn't have a direction. When I was made a member, I initiated the Dhira initiative. Dhira means courage. Courage to say no. Dhira, no to violence against women. Now, why is it that as obstetrician, I took this challenge of starting this initiative? Because friends, this violence against women affects women's health. It has an impact on the maternal morbidity and mortality. And if you want to achieve the SDG goals, if you want to reduce the maternal morbidity, mortality, it's only when you reduce the impact of violence against women. That is the importance of violence in the, I can say not in the country, globally, because there's no part across the globe where women are not affected by violence. So I think that's so very important that we have heard our young girls. We just heard Amanognya so beautifully put it, and even Preeti, and I'm sure there are many more girls, young girls here, who will definitely agree with me. I always believed, you know, if you really want to do something wholeheartedly, you will definitely be able to do it. You need to have the in thing in you that, yes, I can. Now, I really appreciated your theme, prevention. So absolutely right. We're talking about the cervical cancer prevention. As a FOXY president, when we started this Cancer Mukt Bharat, So Foxy says Cancer Mukt Bharat in association with the Government of India's policy, because we are unfortunately having a very big burden of cervical cancer in our country. And you know, it's hovering between the second and the third place, where sometimes the upper lip and other things, and of course breast has overtaken cervical cancer, but it's such a huge burden. And I think the onus is on all of us to see that we can try to reduce the impact of cervical cancer in our women. So as Foxy and FIGO, we are advocating the 90-70-90 policy. What is it? Simple. See that 90% of your adolescent girls are vaccinated. See that 70% of the women are screened. Now, yes, we believe in HPV and colposcopy, and 90% of the women tested, screened, should be, who have tested positive, to be given the treatment. That should be the policy of everyone globally, and that's what Foxy and FIGO are aiming. And in fact, we are partnered with the WHO, UNICEF, and so many other organizations to actually send across this message. In fact, this year, when I took over, we started this Cancer Mukt Bharat, and I've got 262 societies in the country, across the length and breadth of the country. On 6th and 7th of November, we dedicated it to the cervical cancer screening days. The first day was to do the screening camps. It's so very difficult to get people to actually go and do the screening camps. Everyone is busy, all the doctors, I can't really blame them, no? Everyone has their own, I can say, their own various activities. It's so very difficult. But in spite of it, I'm so very proud of my members who actually came up to the occasion. In spite of the pandemic, they did do a lot of programs. And in fact, you know, I was there at the launch program at Salkapuram village in Kurnool. 300 women were actually screened with colposcopy and were vaccinated. We had about 3 MPs and MLAs. You know what is most important? When you really want to make a difference, involve the local leaders. If you're going to the village, catch hold of the sarpanchas. Tell them, you are responsible for your women. You are responsible for the health of your people. When you make them responsible, they feel committed. Now, there was one simple statement. I said, when people come and ask you for votes, please tell them, you know, you give us, do camps, give us vaccinations, give us the colposcopy. We will give you the votes. Don't you think that's your responsibility? The sarpanch was so very keen. I think that's very important, going to the level, because it's so very difficult for us to actually reach out to all the villages or individually. But if you make the local people involved, make them feel that they actually have to take care of the women, it will go a long way. And that's so very important. So that is a project which Foxy's been doing. And yes, Dhira initiative, when we started No to Violence Against Women, I'm very happy to introduce. I have started this Dhira project with coordination with the UNICEF India and WHO. This is basically to actually catch them young. We started the online certification course. The best thing is you need to touch those young minds 9 to 12th class and do some sort of, you know, you need to actually focus on them. So with this online certification courses being taken for all these 9 to 12th class students, to only sensitize them on violence against women and how it makes a difference in the health of the country. You know, no boy should actually grow up when he sees his father or anybody else doing any violence. He should not grow up thinking it's okay that I can do it. At the same time, no girl who has seen around her a mother or anybody being affected by violence should grow up thinking it's okay to accept. So with this intention, I initiated this Dhira online certification course. The reason why I started the online certification course is children are attracted to get a certificate, especially if it's with FIGO, Foxy, and UNICEF. So that was the reason we initiated. The end result, I'm hoping to make it a compulsory curriculum for our school children, and I'm sure that that will also happen. And what we all need to look at why is it that we need to talk about women empowerment and all the things which these young girls have told? Absolutely right. When you're talking about sexual and reproductive rights of the woman, who is going to decide when the girl is ready to marry? Who is going to decide when that lady wants to have a baby, she should have baby? Who is going to decide that she should have an abortion or anything? Is it going to be the mother, the mother-in-law, the husband, or the government? It is the woman's sexual and reproductive right. And that is so very important. I think that realization should come. And to be very honest, let me tell you, friends, we women in India are much more empowered than many other women across the globe. I have traveled the length and breadth. And let me tell you, to take this dhira to the FLASOC countries, the Latin American societies in 2017, I had to fight with them for long. They said, no, Shanta, we can't do it. It's all a male-dominated. So, it's so difficult. It is so this, that. Fought with them. And I said, no, we have to do it. And they did agree in that Congress, it was in Cancun. After everything, they said, okay, we have a press conference. They had all men addressing and everyone sitting. So I said, sorry, this is not what is called empowerment. Who is it that you are addressing? And who is it? And finally, they agreed to make the women of the FLASOC societies. Of course, it was in Spanish. I really don't know whether what I explained, they've actually translated in the correct sense. So that, absolutely. So partner with men to say no to violence against women. And in Rio, to make this Dhira walk, this public awareness program, I had to fight with them for 6 months. They said, no, political, this, that. Then we had to say, look here, boss, FIGO is our Congress. The world is looking at us. We are the global voice of women, and we did make it possible. And that day I realized that globally, when all the societies across the UK, the RCOG, the ACOG, FLASOG, AOFOG, everyone was there. So, be it anywhere, human mentality is same. The problems are same. The issues are same. I think the way to approach each problem should change. And that will definitely make a difference. I'm sure that with all of us together, we can definitely, and with men around us who are going to partner, I'm sure that we will be able to make a difference. And what I will tell is, please take care of your sons. Please make them partners in this cruise. And they should be brought up in a way that they learn to respect and gender neutrality. That's so very important. We need that generation next to grow up in a gender-neutral society. And that is the day, I think, then we can say, yes, we have achieved it. Otherwise, we keep on having bhashans, we keep having meetings, we keep doing slogans. And pandemic, unfortunately, we have seen in this terrible time of COVID pandemic, violence against women has become the silent pandemic. That is the reason now the government of India, FOXI, FIGO, the UNICEF, WHO, all of us are working to try to do our bit to reduce the burden. In fact, now the USAID and everyone also are coming forward and they want to partner with us because now globally everyone is focusing on this issue. Let's hope these young girls take the message across and try to bring about a change. You are a thought leader. I think what is very important, you need to change the thought process of each and every person, and that is the only way forward. So congratulations, team. You have done a fantastic work, and I'm sure you will be able to do more, and we are always here to support. And thank you, Dr. Anupama and the whole team. Thank you all, friends, for having us here. Next to grow up in a gender-neutral society. And that is the day, I think, then we can say, yes, we have achieved it. Otherwise, we keep on having bhashans, we keep having meetings, we keep doing slogans. And pandemic, unfortunately, we have seen in this terrible time of COVID pandemic, violence against women has become the silent pandemic. That is the reason now the government of India, FOXI, FIGO, the UNICEF, WHO, all of us are working to try to do our bit to reduce the burden. In fact, now the USAID and everyone also are coming forward and they want to partner with us because now globally everyone is focusing on this issue. Let's hope these young girls take the message across and try to bring about a change. You are a thought leader. I think what is very important, you need to change the thought process of each and every person, and that is the only way forward. So congratulations, team. You have done a fantastic work, and I'm sure you will be able to do more, and we are always here to support. And thank you, Dr. Anupama and the whole team. Thank you all, friends, for having us here.
Thank you, Dr. Shanta Kumari. That was a very powerful speech. And thank you for shedding light on what India is doing for prevention of cancer and also for domestic violence. And actually, that happens to be our themes, what we've been working on in AAPI this year, cancer prevention and domestic violence. So I'm glad we can work hand in hand. And the next, I would like to invite Dr. Juby Jacobs-Nara.
I'm shorter, guys. So first of all, it's been such a pleasure being here. And I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity, not just to represent Indian physicians, but women leaders. And I want to first of all thank you, Dr. Anupama, Dr. Seema, Dr. Meher, and everyone who's organized this terrific conference, because prevention is better than a cure is extremely important. And I know you guys wanted to hear a little bit about the journey. So I was born in New Delhi to a woman who came from an extremely poor family. They didn't even have bathrooms and, used the outside for bathrooms, and yet pursued to get some kind of education. The motivation of my mother's desire was to help her siblings, her parents. So you see, as women, we are inherently made with that desire and compassion to extend, to help, to build up. That mom of mine then chose to learn nursing, applied everywhere, and studied in Mysore. And she's the one who then went to the United States. I was born in Delhi. My dad was an Air Force person in New Delhi. And then we both followed. I was about 2.5, 3 years old. So I grew up in New York. But you have to understand, my parents are well in their 70s, late 70s now. And the culture was very different back then. My mother was not encouraged to educate herself, but she had a mother that supported her and believed in her. So that was amazing, that despite the others who said, oh, why do you want to send her over there? Why should she have to study? Don't bother her, just get her married off. That was the culture. But yet my grandmother supported mom. My mother then took not only us, but her whole family and brought them over to the United States and helped them further progress. Now my dad, I'm the firstborn. I have a younger brother, 8 years younger than me. He's an orthopedic surgeon. And when I was born, it was, oh man, it's a girl. That was the attitude. I was born in New Delhi. Of course, Dad's changed since, but that was the attitude. And it wasn't about getting me educated. It was about, all right, do what's necessary and then find a nice boy from a good family, and that's the deal. But I had a passion for medicine. And we were very poor. Mom was the primary income bearer, but yet she saved up, saved up, saved up. And I ended up doing medicine in India because that's all we could afford. And I was grateful for the experience. I studied at Kasturba Medical College, and my brother, who's 8 years younger, studied in the US and is a reconstructive orthopedic surgeon. So this is the journey. And what I'm trying to say is, slowly but surely, we affected change. And that has to happen by asking some of the difficult questions, sometimes bringing conflict, because conflict opens eyes and helps people understand that more can be done. So since then, I studied, finished medicine, went back to the US, and then originally I married outside the fold. That was another big deal. Didn't get an arranged marriage or anything like that. Married a person from Malaysia, totally not something my parents supported, but now realize the bigger picture. I started doing obstetrics and gyne, which I still am very passionate about. But when I went back to the US, I decided to do preventive medicine. One, because malpractice is crazy in the US for OBGYNs. Secondly, because I truly believe it's very near and dear to my heart that prevention is worth way more than all the treatments. Not to undermine treatments, but that we can gain so much more and decrease morbidity and mortality by focusing on that. So with that being said, I went back, did my MPH at Columbia University, then did business degrees, 2 business degrees at Cornell, and then I did my academic doctorate in community health and education. I currently serve as the head of global medical affairs, the vice president at Sanofi, and I am responsible for many of the disease awareness campaigns, all of the clinical studies, as well as diseases in respiratory, GI, allergy, as well as many women's health arenas. So I have to say that, Dr. Shanta, I was tremendously excited about hearing all that you're doing, because it's also very near and dear to my heart. I was part of the team that worked together to bring Gardasil to the market. And I've, had the privilege of working on many, many vaccines in my career. And in fact, in 2000, I believe it was 2007, we had a campaign with PT Usha to increase awareness for cervical cancer. And just anecdotally here, when I was in my second MBBS first term, when we started clinicals, we started with obstetrics and gyne. That was my rotation. And the first case I saw, and that will never go out of my mind, was a cauliflower-like friable growth of a woman who came in with CA cervix. I mean, it was so difficult to just take a piece of tissue because it's so friable and it would just bleed. And it was so disappointing that it came to that stage. We have a problem here and we need to change that. And the best way to change that is to A, empower, B, educate, and inform. In this day and time, I saw on the bag, it says transformation, telemedicine. There's so much and technology that we can do. Even amongst the poorest of families, they have cell phones, they have TVs. We need to have outreach. We need to have direct-to-consumer advertisements, information, education. If women are aware that we can take a simple pap smear and help prevent the potential morbidity and mortality associated with cervical cancer, they will do something about it, not just for themselves, but for their daughters and others in the community. We need to raise a buzz. We need to get people talking. And by informing and educating, we can do more for that. Similarly, breast cancer, it's so on the rise. I see cases where people never bother to do a self-exam because they don't know how to do a self-exam. The value of the annual physical is practically nil unless there is a problem, unless they're in pain or something's not right. People aren't going and seeing. We as a country, as a nation, need to do more to help people know that there's value in that, and they have to do it. We can prevent, identify, and treat early on. And of course, I've been happy to say I've been part of the coronavirus vaccination programs and many of the vaccines. And that is something that we also have to continue to educate, because people have fear, conspiracy theories. We cannot be judgmental. As physicians, we have to be agnostic of looks, agnostic of social status, socioeconomic strata, agnostic of caste, creed, color, religion, all this, because we need to understand people are people. And the key to success is down-to-earth, practical, humble communication. And I cannot emphasize this more. So I really thank my fellow leaders here in everything that you're doing, and let's continue to not just talk, but affect change and move that needle further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jubi Nara. That was really, really very inspirational. And thanks for sharing your inspirational journey of life with us. That was really heart-moving. And also giving us tools how to handle these problems today. So our next speaker is Dr. Meenakshi Martin. Please welcome her.
Good evening, all. the organization team of AAPI, Anupama, Meher, and Seema for having me on this beautiful occasion where I got to learn more than I believe I'm going to share today. Thank you, Dr. Amit Chakrabarti, for suggesting my name. And we are supposed to be talking about women who inspire, women empowerment, and successful women. I'm told that I'm supposed to be talking about my journey, and I really do not consider myself to be any of the above. I'm neither successful, nor am I empowered, nor do I inspire. I do not consider myself to be inspiring enough. But the speakers before me have done such a wonderful job, and that I feel, well, everything that I needed to be said here has already been mentioned by one speaker or the other. But yes, since I'm here, I would like to share my story. I was born in a very small village with no electricity, no public water supply, and no roads, no transportation. I walked something to the tune of 6 to 12 kilometers, depending on my sports practices in the school per day. Much later, when my father saw me digging very late in life, and he said, all that walking has done you good. And walking in extremely hot sun. You come back home at 2 o'clock, have your lunch, 3:30 you walk back 1.5 kilometers, and then again 3 kilometers, so 4.5 kilometers, one way, in extremely hot sun, and then go there and play. I played for my state. So, yeah, whatever we do, we start very young. Born to two parents who were freedom fighters. My father joined the freedom movement in 1942 when he was a 22-year-old student in Dharwad in Karnataka. We have been talking about, being from all over the country. People are born somewhere, study somewhere. My mother, of course, came from a very limited resource family, though being a huge landlord. She had lost her mother, and her father remarried an uneducated woman because he had given birth to 2 daughters, and the village pressurized him to marry to produce a son, which was not produced. So my mother remained the sole, sort of a guiding light for that family. She ran away at the age of 15 to pursue a career in nursing. She passed her nursing at the age of 16, then did her pharmaceutical graduation. That time it was called, in Portuguese, of course, we come from a Portuguese colony. Then she did Lyceum, which is equivalent to something called as B.Ed now. And then she was practicing pharmacy, nursing, and teaching other people. And someone very derogatory in a terminology was used against my mother to tell me that, oh, your mother staged underwears to pay for her medical fees. So I said, isn't that something one should be very proud for? Because she was being independent. She was using her mother's gold to pay for her books. And she stitched other people's clothes because she did not want to take anything from her own father, who she thought had betrayed her. But she did her medicine, and in medicine, she did 2 post-graduations. So my mother was 4 times graduate and 2 times postgraduate. And I think I fall short, but I make up in other departments. So having a mother of that nature, obviously I was taught medicine at the age of 7. I did my first surgery at the age of 7 when I could not even open the artery forceps. So I had to send my driver back home to open it so that I could do the dressing and, the nangar. You know what a nangar is? The hull, the plow. The bullock cart and the plow, what we plow the fields with, that had gone in someone's foot through and through. So it was a huge wound and it had to be dressed every day. So that was my first medical, or rather a surgical experience. So I was told inadvertently by my parents that I don't have limitations, that I can do whatever I wish to do. I was taught swimming in the fields, our paddy fields, at the age of 2. before I could practically walk independently. I used to swim from one village to another across, say, 3 to 4 kilometers. And today, I believe it is some kind of a training and sports that is required. So I grew up a girl child, the firstborn, named Meenakshi, in a family that spoke Portuguese and were raised Catholics. Meenakshi is a daughter of Kuber. Meenakshi is also the Swarup of Parvati or Durga. And I always say that my parents defined my life and my future with my name, so that I could grow and become what they had named me. Yeah, many people ask me, medicine and acting, how does it go hand in hand? I believe that success, that is what I was first told, that we should, we are talking about success and women, starts with a goal. And goals are changing, they're so fluid for a woman. At a particular age, all of us are doctors here, or entrepreneurs and scientists and research scholars. At a younger age, we want to do well in our classes, in our marks, and we want to get good grades, and we want to stand first, second, or whatever we want to do. I wanted to win awards for acting whilst doing medicine, whilst also standing first in certain subjects in the University of Bombay. I could not, cope with acting and medicine that well, but I excelled in acting. So what we did was, every year I answered medicine. The next year I did theater. It was a state-level competition. And from there, I think getting into films or getting into serials was pretty easy, but not from Goa. So to that end, I joined a research group for the Ministry of Social Welfare. I worked with them for 4 years during my senior residency in psychiatry. I wrote co-authored 21 papers on substance abuse, wrote 2 books for the Ministry of Welfare, because the research was based in Bombay. So that once I am shifted to Bombay, I can, start looking for work in films. And as luck would have it, my first film was a Malayalam film, which was in the panorama section, so not Hindi. We women are very adaptive. And mostly when we face a wall of resistance, of abuse, of difficulty, of challenges, or defeat, or a failure of any kind, or we are pushed to the wall and we are forced to react, we do. So when I could not, I set up a hospital in Bombay, of course, 45-bedded hospital for drug de-addiction and rehabilitation. Then I thought that it's time I end my 11-year work with substance abuse and look for something different. So I got married, okay? And I got married, a Goan, raised in a very open and, as far as my abilities were concerned, my father did not ever allow me to wear anything above my elbows and above my ankles. So I didn't wear dresses after the age of 13. I was not allowed to use lipstick by my father. I was also not allowed to cut my hair. So a pure Indian kind of culture with no tinge of Western influence on me, and I was raised thus. So when I married a man who was raised by UP parents, nothing wrong with UP here, okay? And you are? Okay. My in-laws are both PhDs, incidentally, in literature. But there was so much restriction. And they adored Madhuri Dixit. They would run to see Madhuri without their chappals, barefoot. But they would not understand why on earth did a doctor want to act. They had no concept that I had moved to Bombay only to act and I had no other intentions. Marriage was incidental. But the challenges didn't stop there. I also wanted children. It's a biological clock business. And I think we fall prey and we are stupid to convince ourselves that we need children. And I'm very happy that the newer generation and the current girls are refraining themselves from falling prey to this mythological notion that every woman has to be a mother. I'm a very proud mother. I got twins. They are 30 years old. One of my sons has got cerebral palsy and bilateral kidney failure. He's in a wheelchair. That redefined my goals as to who I was. I could neither be a psychiatrist, nor could I be an actor, because I had to be a full-time mother. And I became one. I had to take him for physiotherapy, and I had to run the length and breadth of Bombay trying to keep him alive. When doctors said that he would not survive 3 weeks, then they said 3 months, and then they said maybe 2.5 years, and he's 30 today. And sometimes he thanks me. I choose to remember the good times when he was a baby and he would climb up on my chest and say, "Wee, good morning, Mama. What a wonderful day it is. Thanks for birthing me onto this wonderful planet of yours. It's so lovely." And he said that every year for years. Now he's 30 and he's having a doubt. That's because maybe we goofed up with the planet, nothing wrong with him. And so I was faced with a wall again and I had to make a shift. So when they were 3 months old, I was asked for an audition in RK films, the Raj Kapoor films. There were 67 girls. I mean, I was a mother of 3-month-old babies, but no one knew that. And I was also breastfeeding, which also no one knew. And so 67 females were being auditioned from morning 10 o'clock to evening 7, and I was the last woman standing. And I was selected. That's how I got the Malayalam film, because Shashi Kapoor didn't make his film. But I was very honored to be trained by Shashi Kapoor for almost 3 months, every day. He didn't know I had children. I would carry my 4-month-old, 5-month-old, 6-month-old, and keep them with the maids in his garden, till one day my son fell and he started howling. And I told Shashiji, I said, "I have to leave." He says, "Whose children are crying outside?" I said, "Well, I'll have to go and see whose children those are, but I have to go." I never told him I had kids. And no one knew I had till I started bringing them on shoots, when they were 4, 5 years old. Yeah, so every woman, I think from inside somewhere, finds the courage. In the pursuit of this courage, because having a child who is dying is no fun. I cannot tell you the kind of trauma that I went through. I mean, I'll not generalize it. Trying to save my son, who does not have, the proper renal functions. He had ventricular septal defect. He had a tumor in the right atrium. So there was a lot of confusion. And when medicine failed, and I was told by the doctors, "Get out of our clinic, don't waste our time here." Humanity and physicians, I think we have a lot to learn. So the pediatrician refused to touch my son. He said, "You're just wasting time. I have a lot of people here." I went to spiritual sciences. And I learned spiritual sciences from the length and breadth of this country. I visited everybody who taught me a great deal, who healed my son a lot. And I have written a book on it. One day, probably I'll put it up online. But in the process of healing my son, I think somewhere I healed my pain. And the best thing that happened to me was I learned to accept. And the due course of this process of mine, trying to save my son, trying to save a career, a marriage that had almost was non-existent because everybody wanted to kill my son. They told me various methods, like you can puncture here, you can put a pillow, or you can put atta in the, all sorts of things were told to me. And I fought and I stood, and I remember Thank you. So I remember the statement I made when they came in to kill my child, and I stood in the middle and I said, the whole universe on one side and me and my children on one, and y'all can get lost. So I think the women have the power to do that, alienate themselves and to fight for what they love the most. So in the process, I learned that primarily I need to make myself better. So I went and studied science of the soul and various other things, in which I learned that Krodha, Maya, Moha, Ahankar, we call about Bharatiya Sanskriti, and we talk about Dharma, and we talk about Karma, and we talk about a lot of other things, but we never talk about how to improve yourself, oneself. And I think in that process, I learned to be a better human being. I learned to be more generous, more kind, more loving, more considerate, more compassionate, more understanding of other people's issues. We say, put yourself in the other person's shoes, but we really don't. So now when I see my patients and I give them so much time, and my statement always is, you know the fees psychiatrists charge, but you can pay me whatever. If it is a girl child and if it is a housewife, I make sure that I don't charge, just so that they come back for the next session. Because the moment they have to pay money for a woman, they don't come back for treatment. So I have, in that sense, then contributed through being on the Women's Commission, initiated laws in domestic violence, which are being implemented in the nation today. I have been on the committees for making of the rape laws, which are again implemented in the country today. The POSCO Act, the Prevention of Sexual Abuse Against Children's Act. So I was instrumental on the review, and I was on the committee for the, before they're sent by the parliament, by the president. So each of us have a huge ocean of resource, a woman, which we are capable of giving. And I think all of us here are doing that. I thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And I'm very, very grateful and honored to be in your presence. Thank you so much for a patient hearing. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Martins, for that very, very inspirational speech. And again, reinforcing women empowerment and how many hats women can wear, be a mother, professional, and at the same time pursue our hobbies. They have a right to do that, and you've proved it, that we can do it all. So I hope everyone here is feeling inspired and work together towards women empowerment. At this time, we were going to open the forum for discussion, but because we are running a little short of time and the next session has to start here, I would just like to request each speaker to say in 2 lines, the closing statement, what your message would be for our audience, for women in India and women in general in the world. So you can start from that end to this end, and after that I would like to invite Dr. Goti Mukola for a vote of thanks.